In this segment of my conversation with Herbert Meyer, former special assistant to William Casey at the CIA back during the Reagan years, we talk about what kind of imagination is needed to conduct good intelligent work, and also the problem of wanting too much information and how information overload can hinder clear intelligent assessment.
The worst mistake you can make is to not know what you're looking for. And that's what's happened. So you've got NSA, which is presumably listening to all your phone calls and reading all my emails, and yet they missed the Major Hassan in Houston, the Army psychiatrist. He put Soldier of Allah on his business card. Look, I'm no genius, but even I would recognize that as an indicator of trouble. Then you had the Tsarnaev brothers in Boston. They sent out every signal of a terrorist, and they missed it. They didn't know what they were looking for. See, what they didn't say is, okay, look, we think there's a danger from the increasingly radicalized individual. Well, you can have experts say if someone becomes radicalized, these are the things you would look for. They drop out of their church or their mosque, they set up a terrorist training camp, they start reading magazines like this and that, all kind of, you could make that list. If you've got that list, all the board lights up when you see something like that, but if you don't know what you're looking for, it's a bunch of noise. And there's the glitch. Look, Steve, if you were having a bunch of friends over for dinner at your house Saturday, you have to go shopping. So you're pushing your grocery cart down the aisle at the supermarket, and you think, I wonder what they've got at Whole Foods. So you get in your car, you drive to Whole Foods, and you're going up and down the aisles, and you say, gee, I wonder what they have at Trader Joe's. Well, if you're not careful, it's 8 o'clock at night and your dinner guests have sent out for a pizza. At some point, you have to stop and say, look, I'm sure there's more to look at, but I've seen enough. I can put this together in something that works. In other words, you stop shopping and you start cooking. Now, shopping and cooking are different skills. By the way, every great cook I know is a pretty good shopper. Very few shoppers are great cooks. They're different skills. It's the same in intelligence. You have to know what you're looking for so you can put it together. But if you say, gee, I just have to see everything, then you fall into a trap. We could pass a law requiring every American to file a flight plan in the morning before leaving the house. I'm going to drive down Elm Street, drop my kids off at school, stop at the Starbucks, drop my laundry off at the dry cleaners, head for the office. I guess over 30 years you'd probably stop a crime or find some terrorist attack, but it's crazy. And what they're doing now is because they don't know what to look for, they say, oh, we have to know everything. And that's the classic intelligence mistake.
From here, we turned our conversation towards some of the lessons that can be learned from the way the CIA assessed the Soviet economy back during the 1980s.
Bill and I were sitting there. President Reagan and Bill had an intuitive feel that the Soviet economy was in worse shape than anybody thought. The CIA was saying East Germany had an economy the size of California. Some of us had been to Leipzig and San Diego, and Leipzig didn't look like San Diego. It couldn't be true, okay? Anyway, the CIA had what was called SovMod. It was an econometric model of the Soviet economy. Now remember, this is before we all had personal computers. So you couldn't argue with SovMod. All these disk drives whirling, and remember the punch cards would go into slots and things. Anyway, I was sitting with Bill, and we had access to it now. We had the clearances. And I said, I'm going to meet with the SovMod people this afternoon. And Bill said, oh, great, come back and tell me what the hell that thing is. So I was sitting with the SovMod people. I said, what is this thing? And they said, look, you start with the official figure that Gosplan, the Soviet planning agency, puts out about Soviet economic growth, which is 3.3%. And then they went into a long, complicated analysis of how they took that number, did this, did that, added that, subtracted that. I was completely lost. I had no idea what they were talking about. Now, I used to write cover stories for Fortune magazines. I'm reasonably fluent in this kind of thing. And I remember sitting in my office thinking, I have no idea what they just told me. There's no way I can go back to Bill and tell him I didn't understand it. So I called the SovMod people and said, I didn't get it. Let's do this again tomorrow. So we went through it a second time. And the second time, I picked up something I had missed the first time. They start with the official Soviet statistic. But when the disk drive stops spinning and all those punch cards go into the slots, the number at the other end was the same number. So the whole thing was a kind of a Potemkin village, you should pardon the expression. You know, it was a computer econometric Potemkin. It was nonsense. And then we knew they didn't have anything. This was baloney. So you knew you could really go after it.
Sounds just like a climate model.
Yeah, well, very much so, yes, very much so.